So the good news is he doesn't need surgery. The bad news is he's 5 years into a special career and has yet to make it to a Super Bowl. 2 straight years of not getting back to the conference championship game. Coach Sean McDermott, meeting with reporters on Monday, was asked about offensive coordinator Ken Dorsey's first year as offensive coordinator, obviously, and potential changes to the staff. Have a listen to Sean McDermott.
There's a first year for everyone, and I thought Dorsey really did some good things, and then there's some things that he can learn from as well. And I know this, when you're committed to a cause and you work hard at things and you put put the team first, that you learn from experiences, and so like all of us, we have to learn from the experience. Yeah, I'm not going to get into staff right now, Jay. I just obviously not even 24 hours past yesterday's game, so I'm just, like I said, finished with the exit interviews with the players, and we met as a team.
Sounds a lot like some things we heard last week from coaches who eventually would move on from coordinators. I've heard some rumblings, maybe Leslie Frazier, the defensive coordinator, is going to be the scapegoat for the collapsed season. I can't imagine Ken Dorsey being fired after 1 year, but who knows? Look, Chris, under normal circumstances, and there was nothing normal about the Buffalo Bills season.
That's right.
If this was just, a year of failed expectations without the snowstorm and DeMar Hamlin and everything else that kind of made that community and the team even more tightly forged together,
right?
I'd wonder if ownership would want to make big changes, come to the conclusion. We've talked about this, that, and McDermott said after the game, we just keep knocking on the door. At some point, the team decides, ownership decides they want someone else doing the knocking. That you've taken this as far as we can go. We've decided you're not the one who's going to kick in the door. We need someone else to do it, whether that's coach, whether that's GM, whatever the case may be. But the flaws in that team continue to exist in plain sight. And the question is, at what point will ownership do anything about it? Or is good enough just good enough? Is it good enough to be division champion, to be in the playoffs, to get to the divisional round, and not kick in that door? For some teams it is. For some teams it isn't. It's going to be interesting to see, especially after 2023, because the pressure's only going to be greater. And I think hot seat time arrives next year, regardless of what happens with the staff this year. And it sounds like something could happen. Higher up, I think next year is the year where things could go sideways if the Bills don't have a better outcome than they had in 2022.
I don't disagree that, there's more of a spotlight on them coming into this year. You're right, 2023. Agreed. I hear what you're saying. It's you can only be the bridesmaid so many times, right, before you feel like an owner. It'll get frustrated. I get that. But I don't think we're here or there to make any changes. I don't look at it. Again, like you said it right. Damn, nobody went through more this year than the Buffalo Bills. That was the thing where like, I was certainly in question of, like, was that going to be a moment that propels them, or are they going to be so emotionally exhausted from it they just can't push forward? And it feels like that's kind of what happened to a degree. Also, man, I know it's not that easy to get to the conference championship and get to Super Bowls. They're right there on the cusp. Yeah, they were there 2 years ago. Last year, they messed up a end of the game situation and let the Chiefs score, and it went into overtime and they lost. But they've been in the conversation for one of the best teams in football. And I don't think you disrupt that formula as of right now. My big thing with the Bills, and like we talked about a little yesterday, there's got to be more sizzle on the football team. When you look at the teams that are left, right? Buffalo does not have the high-end elite players that the teams that are left. On offense, it's Allen and Diggs. On defense, without Von Miller, I'm not sure there's a blue chip player on the defense. And I'm not. I respect and I love the Buffalo Bills, but that to me is where I go. Wait, the Bengals. It's not only Jamar Chase. It's T. Higgins and it's Joe Mixon and it's Tyler Boyd, who would be the number 2 receiver for Buffalo, and he's the number 3 receiver for the Cincinnati Bengals. And then it's, hey, we only have to rush 3 and we get pressure. There's no marquee offensive lineman on the Bills. The secondary, there's no shutdown corner. There's no marquee safety right now. You know, the linebackers are good. We know that. But then I think when you compare that to the 49ers or the Cowboys or the Eagles or the Chiefs or the Bengals, it's not in the same stratosphere, in my opinion. And that's something that I think they got to address this year, is just getting a few guys that can make plays outside the realm of the playbook. It can't always be the coaches having to deliver. There's a lot of positives. They just need a little in that department, in my opinion.
John Elway, early 2015, when he surprisingly fired John Fox after a divisional round loss, he said, I think if there is one thing that you would like to have and you want to feel, at least in the last game, you want to feel like you go out kicking and screaming. When you're right there, and I think 2 years in a row, it didn't feel like we went out kicking and screaming because of the fact of the way we played our last game. I mean, that, and what did he do? He fired John Fox, hired Gary Kubiak, and won a Super Bowl.
Right.
The next year. And that's just a recent example of a dynamic that has played out time and again.
Right.
There's a danger in getting close too many times because eventually ownership's going to say you're not the one to kick in the door. And I'm sorry, but I think that's why there was just a sense that the Bills were kind of feeling the weight of the pressure back in August because they knew. And they understand at some point ownership is going to say, we got Josh Allen. We need better results. We need people who are going to get us to better results with Josh Allen. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.